Today we're going to tackle a really interesting question, one that you might even see in yourself. Why are smart people so often loners? We're going to dig into the science here, starting with something called the friendship paradox.
All right, let me ask you something straight up. Think about it. What's your perfect Friday night? Is it hitting a loud party, surrounded by tons of people? Or is it maybe just chilling at home with a good book, a cool documentary, or, just getting lost in your own thoughts?
Okay, so if you pick the quiet night in, well, you're definitely not alone in wanting to be alone. And get this, science is actually starting to suggest that this preference, it might just be a sign of some serious brain power.
So let's dive right in. First up, what I like to call the party paradox. And trust me, you've probably felt this one before. Picture this. You're at a party, right? It's loud, people are everywhere, talking, laughing. But you just feel bored. Totally isolated, even in a crowded room. It's kind of like being forced to watch a movie you have absolutely no interest in. So what's the deal with that feeling? Well, it's usually not about disliking people. Not at all. It's about disliking a certain kind of conversation. Which brings us to our next big idea, moving beyond the small talk.
And this really breaks it down, doesn't it? On one hand, you've got the usual stuff. The weather, what you did last weekend, the latest office gossip. And look, that's fine. But for a brain that's buzzing about, say, physics, or big new ideas, or just the mysteries of the universe, well, that other stuff can feel like a total energy drain.
Yeah, this pretty much sums it up. Small talk is just boring. And it's not about being arrogant or thinking you're better than anyone. It's just a genuine lack of stimulation. If your brain is wired to go deep, scratching the surface just feels like a waste of good brain power.
Okay, but here's the thing. This preference for being alone, it's not a weakness. No way. In fact, it can be a massive strength. Let's talk about how solitude actually fuels creativity. There's actually a name for this. It's called creative solitude. And it's super important to know this isn't about being lonely. It's an active state. It's when you're alone, free from all the social noise, that your mind can finally wander, make those crazy connections, and come up with something brand new. I mean, think about it. We're always told to collaborate, to brainstorm in big groups. But how many of the world's biggest problems were solved in a loud meeting? A lot of them were cracked in the quiet focus of just one person's mind. For some people, working alone isn't a bug in their system. It's a feature. It's literally their superpower.
So if you remember one thing from this section, make it this simple equation. Solitude equals creativity. For a mind that loves to think and create, being alone is an emptiness. It's the rich soil where the best ideas take root. Now, this whole need for solitude makes a ton of sense when you think about it like this. Let's talk about your social battery.
This chart just says it all, right? That loud party we talked about? Boom, your battery's down to 15%. But check this out. A really deep one-on-one chat? Much, much better. It's way less draining. And then, quiet time alone? That's not just coasting. That's plugging in. That's how you get back to a full 100% charge.
So once you start thinking about your social life in terms of energy, it totally changes how you see friendships. It stops being about how many friends you have. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important point, quality over quantity. Look, the goal isn't to have a huge list of contacts. For a lot of really smart people, the sweet spot is just one or two, but deep, meaningful friendships. You know, the kind of people you can skip all the small talk with and just get right to the good stuff. It's about using that social energy wisely.
And that's the core philosophy right there. It's about investing your social energy where you get the biggest return, not in followers, but in real relationships built on, understanding each other, being curious together, and having a real connection. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. What did we learn today? 1. Hating small talk doesn't make you weird. It probably just means you're a deep thinker. 2. Solitude isn't a problem, it's a tool, a superpower for creativity. 3. Your social energy is precious, so treat it that way. And 4. A small circle of friends isn't a failure, it's a sign that you value real, meaningful connections.
So I want to leave you with this one big question. What if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if your need for quiet time, your desire for deep conversations, what if that isn't a social weakness at all? What if it's actually a quiet, powerful sign of your intellectual strength? Just something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.